You remember the incident of Wounded Knee. You remember the incident at Kent State. You remember even the Battle of Gettysburg. Manenggon has as much significance in U.S. and international, and mostly Guam history, so that it ranks right up there among them. Hiroshima was significant because of the numbers of people involved. What happened in Burma, what happened in Indonesia was significant of the number of people involved. In Guam, the significance is the number of people involved, because you had a smaller sampling that was intended to be annihilated. But everything that happened in those other places happened here. Everything. To this day, there are people here who are looking, hoping to find the loved ones that were left here or left along the road coming in, because they have no closure. What happened to those loved ones? Little babies, dying in people's arms because of lack of nutrition, and they were sick and all that. I mean, it's a terrible story, but it's a story that needs to be told, and it holds a lot of memories, and there's a lot of history here, and we need to make sure that that history does not go unremembered.
Before the invasion of Guam, the Japanese started to relocate families to a concentration camp. From what I understood, Manenggon is one of the famous concentration camps.
The Japanese were losing a lot of ground in a lot of their other campaigns, such as Saipan and the other places. And they were getting, of course, edgy, and they weren't feeling too good about the way the war was going, and they were really getting very downright mean, meaner than they normally were.
Early in 1944, the Japanese had already accepted the fact that they were going to lose the war, and that there's no sense for them, they don't have to protect anybody except themselves. And so that's why many people were massacred.
They came, and the message was, at the crack of dawn, you stand out there on the road, and everybody is going together to go up to Manenggon. Everybody in the area would gather in the main road. Anybody caught in the farms or in the ranch or anywhere, you're dead on sight. So you had no choice. There was a steady stream of people, because if you lag behind, the soldiers in their trucks are going up and down, and you better keep up or they will certainly let you feel it. Hayako, hurry up. The threat of having this soldier say, Hayako, it was enough. Everybody knew that word, hurry. So the sense is that you have to go. It's better if you go to Manenggon than to stay here, because either the Japanese or the American will kill you. The American might kill you accidentally, or the Japanese will just kill you. So that's why we have to go. So we went. When we're going down, when it's getting dark, all you can hear is the bombing, the shooting, and everything. So it's so scary.
It was an advocate going around telling people what's going on. And they told us that tomorrow by 12 o'clock in the afternoon, nobody's going to be in this ranch. Everybody had to move to Manenggon. So that's how we started. They took my brother, Jesus, and my sister, Carmen. Then they put them on the concentration camp or something like that, where they have to work for the Japanese. And then they let us go to Manenggon, the rest of the family.
With my family, they took my brother, Frank, Joe, and my sister, Doreen. I was left with my father, my brother, Jesus, my baby brother, Kim, and my mother in Asokudu, in Derido.
Lo edzai na sosupi hafay manay na dani Manilo ni mangaigi nandito ngugi dito.
I'm not sure how the Japanese really select people to go to a concentration camp. My father was sick. I was also sick. I mean, I had a skin disease, that attacks the armpits, where the sun don't shine more or less. In a way, we were lucky because my father didn't have to walk to Manenggon, so we stayed in Merizo.
The Japanese told us to get out, so when we got out, we were on the road. Some Guamanians were walking already. We asked them where they were going. They said the Japanese told to follow the Japanese guards, because they had Japanese.
Kung todo lalaki, pamalawan, kung mag-iin todo. Kasi kung size na sa panis na tintatitid siyo, la package the bayonet, then todo klase na atma.
Masanganan, perben rikohi, o aga, pamilya mami, pan sigi kato gitsalan, sa pofan malufan, otro bat kadang tau to manginin, hilo, sigi ko sandede do. Pus anay man matos ti, itaw to ito na lugar, man mamat sa gato, man magpupula na ni sa panis, man lumang gifila, dan lalaki.
Sa duro man dito sa panis, sa magiging lapag ito maamu siya. Todo di tanto, kakga mami sinyong kakga, the rest man makola, todo man makola. Yan mamumuka todo kurang. It's very scary, sa pwede niyang bihong mga katitang totoo naman inti, kalantin mo mga kanto.
Makon may dito, terus mantanahan mo, sa gunaman honor, sa mamihi, hindi para dending tao sa katong, mapusan ng mukha ng mga ulang barigada, terus gintaktatar lang dosi, kaya sa panis pa rin kanahon mo tayo. Ugula mo na salam ni tao ko. Kasi manumuk. So, kasi mut salam tayo ni kasi unalong mo kubimaktos. Kasi kasi no para manana na ng makon.
Nobody was moving except at night. Nobody moved during daylight hours because the planes are flying overhead, Japanese airplane. And I'm not even so sure as to how I made it down to Manenggon because we were all moving at nighttime. Nobody was allowed to travel at daylight hours because otherwise we get shot. So at nighttime, we would be walking.
Matawag na natin panahon sa pagkakit. Kung managang gigilan so, na mamasodan sa pimandanan para mamapungo.
Ani manahanuhan pa concentration camp. Makukuni waktu unu na tiuhu no man makuni ni sa panisa man I don't know if man bidan yagi kantu tasi ne lo dinansi ya sap no za manahanuhan guiza mafatu itataw niya sa slamatay ne pues mahafut gibokungo mami za ane magpuigera inispipiatin hilat semoda umahanono atin sada
anay magpuigera faisin talos tataw po de dia palinga tia tungo hafa mas conviene po so ugui dan si mama ko pa infan malag Manenggon parahi palinga anggin tim malag Manenggon hit sinya man masok ngihit nahita ko muna atong Amerikano lengar lo angin mono hit Manenggon sa magatsa na ita no muna atong Amerikano teniki himan mapuno it.
We marched. I mean, American fila nahi. Tahu kes tadi kali. Todi tahu man occupied nahi. Zaman mga kakagay ko fought na, taga ngayon no suitcase or what, say, palutan eh. Iba't sa nanunan no soklo nga na dos na ba sa lunan na mabundi na mafa. Angka na, ito na eh.
Spia Manusina in Kanga. I can remember that. Siya manok, golay, siapa siya na affected siya sulinay. Perswasa talo man mahafod siya gwinaha.
Ani pen mahono pemalis Manenggon. Inha mahafod papa ma tagi kanang bukungo. Pen magado papa itano ta mahafod papa no. Tagi na juna comfort na chest. Mahafod papa pen ma tap ni manad private ma tap la todo ma tap ni. Bula todo minauling kay gigi ini ano na sinano no tima solda I comfort chairs siya gera te bueno o sa timan mo tayam
nafan mo kan distoto para hulu gitalan kini titile waka magagon mommy ina mosa ne para sa tisone man ni wafi gitalan.
We put the saddle up, put all the cargo, the most important thing that we have for being like clothes, the food, kinda, because even the food we have to go out and seek for it too. So we went without getting food from because we plant and we got a lot of food in Fena. So we all went, bunch of us, plenty of them. So we marched from Fena to Manenggon.
I came home, my father was loading the book cart, my mother was scrambling around and get ready, we're going. I said, where are we going? We're being summoned to prize school because I don't know what's happening. So we all got into this one book cart, imagine, one clothes on your body, and you walk and there's all kinds of people and we're getting ready to march to Manenggon.
Right away, my mother rounded us up to get ready. There was 14 of us, brothers and sisters, ranging from 18 years down to maybe 2. So my mother's main concern was all of us older ones, please grab the hand of a younger one. So all of us had to have a brother or sister.
I don't know anything. I'm not aware we're at war, we're going through some suffering further on, no? I'm just going alone. I had a doll with me from Honolulu. And Esther, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I threw my doll away. I don't care, I don't want anything, I'm just so... I'm unhappy now. I'm being a little, young child like that. Anyway, my mom said, "Okay, Monicana." Ngayon na taano si tato, "Palasa ni Monicana." Na kandido hokkay do sa man maktun mano sita kumati sa ni Monicana. Was my mom, they pick it up and my mom put it together with Albert, carrying Albert. Because every further on, my dad would say, "Maria, atan fa no ko si Albert no hogi pa ni Monica." Because it's dark, and Albert was still not crying at all. Sa kanila to manasuso. Because anyway, my mom, estiga Monica, estiga si Albert no hogi. Tibay sotay leho.
I remember my mom telling me that it was a long, arduous hike from Agana all the way to Manenggon, and there was a lot of suffering. And I remember she telling me that several times she fainted along the way and was worried that I would be hurt as I fall down the trail. Fortunately, there were many others in the group who were very helpful during the march.
I've seen people die on the road, and they just die. There's no time to mourn people. They just die and dig a little hole, put them. I've seen little babies who will die, and then they'll just dig a hole, and that was it. Cover it up with blankets, and then go on. You wonder why? But see, those people were being prodded by the Japanese. Move right down the line. If you stay behind, they jab you and they slap you or kick you on the line. So you do that. You see people, how numb they are.
We just kept moving like a bunch of cattle, and we were afraid when you stumble, you get up because else you're going to be beaten for stumbling. So we just blindly took orders, not knowing where it was leading us to.
Bapod gido as yung segundo na pagbonin. Estado no 8 months and a half. Ni magtunan pa yan makam, distijigo mamukat to sa tawad na maude. Sorry manggay karita, man mamukat to distijigo esta maime. pokpok todo patas. Ni Esther ni jajas ni.
Ana esta sigan man march keciluru tandos na subrinaho man maksakuni tres na man tira. Terus ada silu ni masam ko na lai syakin. Matunga na ganezi sensit za hana sagahan ni jalan atagaman sama lagona pa ba man asa kataluk ko ni itu senengan ni makanya di silu ni le na hafta. Pero ako ni esti malalangu tong ko ni unu za pero padun ko ni talus ti. Ano panispio aso no para kentana mau din na cuma no so no bawa makai sempit jadi makoni na ni para kentaku makai ko ada apa bedanya ni prohim pan tulisan lo sige na sini tekui ti akun di makun sige da cuma no so gajo gesta beti tegana but ni bi 10 years tan tembukan tunga pana man libre sige di tres manina pan malago ni si tauto ane hatungo ap man madi nastane hapan lo nasunya Japanese bentik koni G3 dahas kayo no lo meninggo tatalupeni no malago
dulu sama gumano sa nanyawan kaja mungkin sindi mamam di pura mata terus man hono sti man ibu ilahi o jagwa man ngodi ki nijo man ngompi wa ifaha cici lu asite ifaha dijiga ipik jana sama gunso man yes ifaha kumo ji solid nai no terus itu man sumek piham terus ani manana ini dia dina duri saduk ulala uhan sino kupa ihian pak uhan ni dikiki jago sina mon ni nak lagu lo di sina ni tim lagu man rafan menyonggi tang tas kipueng ni sina man ko
wahu ane emang kusta na kita dinya na nos tipong giminihan ni aplaza na ikat soalnya nih wafin ako za kini bukan siguro za mungkin ako di yan za nesta mampu simila ako gusto ko kanuma ko kafe tawa ko gusto sindi mama mi ko jalan za matumin ako ko tusumo nesta tumegini o papa za iya sago yenya mungkin ada gumimin gonosan aji afan tinaksi deku situs lamun jadi jatumu afa situ deku istazo mentus mau kus tumeginyo papa ni ikan air di anu hos dos biahe Yona tegini jogi minya the situs masih satu mata
Ya mamona kita gana kita tujuan Manenggon bersama ini itu bergoda dan Mangilao menanau mata.
Maksud projek kawa interpreter dan kapani masuk ke masangon itu. Kalau berikutnya tori tahu ini kita gana waktu in the leisure area before midnight. Saya masuk na tahu ke lugar na di after midnight matai. Bermakna tangi tahu matang waktu di in the leisure area. Kalau esta pauta yung haswa din na interpreter lo matawag ito na mabekone tao to watu hulo gid Father Drainage area ano matan hulo gid Father Drainage maadang ito sa masangon yun na ato na muntong tao to open my shelter dapat ba na tinasi shelter before midnight today sige tao to mananok to talantangan pumasok sa shelter before midnight that day, magkakaluot din na magpay-connect tao puro Yona.
We were late getting to the place where we were supposed to be. And Kibitai, with his sword, was used, and he was really mad. All I remember was that us kids saw this sword get going up. He was going to chop my father's head off because he said that father was defying orders.
Ani man matam kita tahu ini menapan ketamanana. Desa taugan si nanan palifiru ni. Para ben na lagu dari dia masampuna silu. Ustin tingo na ya ko putbiru na ki Japanese na. Muna ma konya manitilu sa pudi asure. Dadulu ibat ko na ni kono bisa nilo. Na fatsa i ma gachane sa taugan kono manundia honum dan hami dan silu ni ma Masodam na mo na lagu na. Kulian ni bansa itu mo. Kung magalutis todo dos makhluk kesta tao i cilu uno makhluk.
No, sina maski benti bayi ma gadudu ke dos kata unu. Pertama nama sistem ni kau kan dan meminta apa itu kita tahu itu.
When we first reported to work at time, there was one guy once more that was the guy is innocent. I don't know how he happened to be involved with that, but they just called one person from the audience, and the guy volunteered, came out and they shoot him, just to show to the people that what they say when they want to kill somebody they'll do, and that's what they shoot one guy. There was one guy that was shot.
Matang ratu gigi father dueños, lingit sa panis. Todi mangai gigi senalum fanuzum jo fanalum mesti paguman mafatu jo fandiskansa. Pes manuzum todi tauto gigi almi igima zaman alma. Timona hazan na areglay patasuni pabena mauli gi fatatsum. Lingit sa panis dan fangaulo sa patafanano. Oh my goodness. Adyo na tumangi sugat. Malangin sila ko, mga sas. Pagwaman mo faton, dili nga panalon na paben fandiskansa, pues, tan man paben fangaulo. Sa paben fanano tala, sa dyan tutunay manano. Tutunay manano para ulo, Manenggon.
Kasi jijiran na na ni itinga na dos pelawan. Pres agodi unu gi sanme na kita tahu ne segi Indian Jessi Santati pesing kakak gautum otu pak gumu apa sino kau ukat ka pesodu lilia mo na siya imige famagun ham to ne mamangingi lili.
Pues that time when waha silu neni 1.5 years. Or less than 1 year. Was okay, my back. So from there we travel to Manenggon, night and day. Non-stop, same nothing. Japanese continue. Di man nyaga mamatan no Manenggon. Managan di undian, right? Jadi itu apa? Kau mana fandiskansa na pada apa ni? Jadi following day, in Marsan tak lupa apa dia itu. Memalongu ni situ. Sampai ni gua di grup saya no tumungu pun medicine, nurse, right? But everybody help, pues. Todo class ni move. Now I believe he pneumonia not. But anyway, he's doing good. I mean, he's fine. On the way back, right? Karang steady the moving is low. I figure out he's sleeping. So about 2 to 3 hours I walk and makan they do reach they do right. Pues nafanangan na fandiskansa. Matasundaw sa po tunog po tunog na silo maniging sa kamatay tunog kamatay
we stayed behind Father Rlene's high school until we marched from there to Manenggon.
My mom gave us one pajamas, one good clothes, one good shoes, one sheet, blanket. And when I asked her, why that, she said, because on the way, they thought, my mom and dad and my grandma thought that when they would start walking to Manenggon, they thought that one of us might die on the way. So at least they have a blanket, a white sheet to cover you and your best clothes.
One morning we got up and there's people all over Mangilao Valley. And then we were told that we all had to pack and get ready. And then by late afternoon, we were all marched towards the crossroad at Pago. There's one road going down towards the valley there. That's where we were all congregated until it got really dark. I remember my dad sitting beside me and said, son, I don't know what's going to happen, but if anything happens to me, you're the man of the house. Barely 11, almost 11. I'll tell you, and my dad, I could sense the emotion in his voice. Later on, probably would be around 11 o'clock at night, midnight, thereabouts, we started marching to Manenggon.
Guan siya sida sa man makakay ni man dinika ni pamilya ni. Di siya man makon ni imalangon niya po siya man makakay wadi man malalangwa manuugong pa ako.
Di man ko man udah di kereta osino makatuna siya makakane. Ya dos ini makakane. Ya megene tauto si man udah man ko ni no man ko ni. Jadi satu masuk terkuat kita tinggi kita siya ilan senia.
Di man mismo na sa durante ni itu wajah na nista kisine ko sa kisine mamukat pala mapula di katansalan pero matay ni an gwani di kay lina karetang gwaka pala mapula di sa manasunay ko gi papaazuk si Zeus tumispone pala man masapin magawin sa mura di gisaw haso gi durante ni kaya na.
Kasi main ne, magayga sa igaka ne si tangwaka tuwagi gina. Anu ka di ka soda ne, anu ka ulo ay likta de tipen fan morte benti.
Mananete mangikentus ang Guam mananete dan manugong sa waji manmuti Guaman angko ne. Kali ne podre babi kap gano per Hatsa si dan fulana, but dan fulana sa no decisiones dan mokat, but no magwama hogi, gwama pipipit, no iman hobin tada problema ni man hobin in leo ne. Tolid di tauto sa ni man ninikos ista no pwede wam pinadesininya ne. Manipos 50 anos ta, jadi man madedesis ta 20 bulan senta ne. Madesilo man mapo sa ima no niya no kalan maninai mas no editnya adrenaline po fangalantin sa pwede man mo na fan Castilla.
There were 5 of us that stayed behind. The rest were just going on their journey. I know to Manet Dongat, the old man. 5 of us, we stayed behind because I was worried about, so concerned about the old man, because I can see that he can hardly walk. So we stayed behind. One of the Japanese soldiers noticed us coming. So he came up to us and he was speaking in Japanese, but we don't understand. They make us stand in line. He took his bayonet, cut a big tangan like that, and started hitting us on the back, you know? I feel sorry for Tamanet. Every time they hit him, they punish him right there. Keep on hitting us, slapping us, you know. Just imagine those kind of things.
We had one rest period, and that was almost the part where the Cross Island Road is now, where Bishop Forest and Bishop Apperon Street. That's where we climb up by Kutsut, they call it. we have to move and get into the Manenggon Valley before daybreak because they don't want any spotter planes to, spot the movement. I distinctly remember these. There was, old man was blind when we were all resting. I guess the old man kind of strayed away from the group. And when we were told to get up and start moving again, and they started counting, where's the big consignment, the Japanese will not let anybody stay back to look for him.
Ula saya man masuk pamagun. Kaya man istam matay ha. Gaman ma bandon. Man mapus. Sa dulu na man matawag no punono. But man matudahon man matagtaw-taw diya lung kam. But ma bandon ni pamilya.
Some of them died along the road, My cousin, he died right there and halfway. We were going to Manenggon at that time. He couldn't make it any longer. He was pale to begin with, so he died halfway. So they just buried his body there. I think they dug up his body and put it in the Agar cemetery.
When we came up to the crossroad, that's where we found all the dead people. Like Manenggon Valley was one of them. And all these other, folks who left town very late. They didn't make it to Manenggon. So what had happened was that we were going over them, as we were going down Pagube towards Manenggon. And all we could hear from my mother, "Ay, Santa Maria todo," and then she was praying and all this, and she was identifying who they were. That's how I remember Manenggon Valley so well, because that's why I look at Manenggon. I say, "Nahu likwa no saga," because she was telling, according to her, she was telling Manenggon to stay at our house, but she didn't want to. She wanted to go on with the rest of the people. They were just spread out all over. Some of them were, over another person, and right there at the crossroad, it was, it's like they were piled up. Some of them were piled onto another. That's why we started getting very scared, because if that any killing or no fighting there, then we had just missed it because they were pretty fresh.
People are just like zombies. They just go with nothing, like the end of the world. And then on the way up, it split, go like that, and we can see that they're waving the pilot, and everybody's waving, but where's the guard? Lucky that there's no guard there. So all the way, then all this, we're talking about, "Man, where are we going?" "Oh, maybe Mount Sasalagos." Somewhere, everybody. Then finally we reach a hill in Yona. People are exhausted, people are thirsty and all that. Some people are crying. Then we waited there for maybe 2 hours. Oh God, it's hot. People are fainting. It is sad, very sad story. Very sad happened. Then finally, somebody came and said, "We're going down the hill." See people on the halfway to Bali, there's a Matai already wrapped up in mat with 2 of his people dead and cannot stop. Then we reached, by going this way, when we heard somebody said that, "Oh, they're beating a white woman over the side." But see, we're going east. The guard says, "Continue going." People are rushing there. What I heard later overnight. No, that is Mrs. Torres, Yana.
They got to a certain area, and this soldier, Japanese soldier, came up to my mother and to all the women for them to move faster. He didn't want them to stop and to look at the aircraft. He just was shooing them to move faster. And then I don't know why. I don't know if because my mother looked American, or she stood and looked at the aircraft too long. I don't know why. She invoked the the ire of this one Japanese soldier. And he started out by just, using his sword to try to get them to move faster. And then he started beating on my mother. So Mama Tita was telling me that my mother was holding me to her chest and bending over, and to make sure that I was not hit by the sword. And I remember my Mama Tita telling me that that Japanese soldier was just beating non-stop, and he was just venting and just with all his might just beating on my mother. And she said that my mother never cried out. She just, kept trying to get up every time she fell down, and she needed to do this on her own because nobody dared try to help her up, because they would for sure be themselves the subject of the more beatings. And it was several hours later before they were able to locate where my father was, and my father came. And I remember my dad telling us that when he was there with my mother, he kept telling my mother, "You're going to feel better, just hang in there. The Americans are coming." And he said that somebody earlier that day had given him one Camel cigarette. And he showed it to my mother saying, "See, they're here, they're coming." So she didn't even have a coffin when she died. She was wrapped in blankets and a guafak with bamboo, and she was buried there by a coconut tree by the river.
The soldier who was marching next to them apparently had been drinking heavily and was very abusive verbally, but looked at Auntie Hannah, saw that she had sort of looked American, was screaming something that sounded like Americano, Americano, and then began to beat her and hit her on her with his sword. Maybe not severed, but matagal. She threw Jerry into her arms, into Mama's arms, because the women and children were marching together, right? And pushed the two little girls to her, Leni and Vana, and said, "Tita, konisti famaguun pare famaguun." And then she fell. They had to continue walking because they knew if they didn't, that they would be killed too. And to protect the children, Mama tells me how excruciating it was to keep quiet and keep walking, and Nana behind them, and Nana was telling them, "Sige, sige, sige, sa mo pumara, sa mo pumapara, sa mo pumapara," and they kept walking.
Istekan dun sa batu nila banda, adi naman mapola. Kada masisimat kunay man madulala ka malung yan lumtano na. Mga noliyami, Amerikano. No, ako nga Amerikano adi mo sa bugulun dan sa panis. O Agosto nga.
Mati siento na tapos manggay kiti. Halong topi ko bebe ang pi ako. Ma hadlay ako nito na matampi. Mone sinaman naigo siya. Dan may stira papa giluot. Udah. Manggay kan ni sa olong di finalong sa ano ni. Batan mo si para stok ko ni. Dadong kulutan mo niya. Ay at sige na man madulag.
Ani man holungan di kita Manenggon man makunihan ni pamalaan zaman mangwaduk i Japanese undugat gini man mangwaduk tegwihi i koju terus mana ji nijuk kisang hilo ne man ilalahi man akan mangwaduk i pamalaan man mana i kosta janana ji oda di cili waktu jan pepega gigi le nijuk jai durang ten ejune ani cecet nijuk malufani bat kunai ibat kenalan mereka nuzan mental lu gini juk jagohu ekofana sineda juk isang hijum jam ipamalan man malau bolong dipa ini juk jan I guess panas mangkai gigi galumi hujunai jati maligi ju no lu tu mongi ju jo atan lu ai ani libat kunai di sa omeging gigi ni juk jau li i strangers ne ki papanya jo sen li i piloto ni ijonen no gaugu sun liku ai na minagu ju Durman isli pamalan sering Sen mapuno ju sen pipa ko sa tingin no. Lo tawza rin tawza mo si sede jo ne.
Juna bat kunai rin namin kono mo no gigin lo sadde juna lulat sa mo. Zaman lagi na timan atukan din sa ambi. Timan mo onyo sa ozuli may kono. Ay sa panis gumuna na jo. Makone to rin pamagun zaman ma pagpapanmaan niya.
Eji able men man makoni kwato gi landing field for them to do some work, and the able young women were taken to camp down at Fena. So what remained behind are the starving children, the women who just gave birth, and the grandparents who were not able to walk.
The Japanese get a cave and put food there for the people, and when the people go over there, start shooting. Yeah, I was there on that day when they shoot them on the camp. Then they get us to go to Manenggon. They got a lot of people there already. See? So they just put us in there.
The first little 3 to 5 hours, no enjoyable. Sa no kalan fun, it's kalan mo, so no pingni jan kalan tegi waguput na. Lalu esta manjadasan, esta las dosi kipangi, esta kalan no boring and regrettable na sa. You're in there and you have no choice. Esta tawad sinang biro kata na. Pestalo part of it is fear. Sa todo, kung todo desde ito na tapat gon dan ni masamko. I-fear mas matungo, i-di maanam na makastiga pada mana pada mapuno. Jadi mas no mahasuk, jadi mas sumutsunik siya. Jadi motivation of the movement and walking and everything is fear.
There is nothing really. It's fear. It's cold. It's hungry. You cuddle up. Like when you go to sleep, that you will never wake up. And probably it's better that we don't wake up and see, every day is fear. Every day the Japanese would come and check us, and somebody will be beaten up.
I was with Ricky, raining again there in Manenggon, and we were leaning to a kamachili tree, and there's a very soft, nice, feminine voice saying, "Ricky." So we looked around. This tree was just standing alone in a meadow. There's an old tree within 30 feet away. And 4, 5, or 6 times, Ricky. We look around, couldn't see anybody. Ricky, the Japanese Taicho had used camouflage, the bark of the kamachili, to make this tree seem like a solid trunk. And in there, he had one of the, I won't mention the family, but the girl of one of Guam's prominent families, a young girl. She must have been at that time maybe only 16, and he was keeping her in that tree. After a few words and saying, we took off because it was dangerous to be seen here there.
I remember my dad mentioning that his sister, Evelyn, getting killed by the Japanese soldiers because of, I guess that she was part of that group for, not necessarily sexual slave and all that, but I guess they were after her for pleasure, personal pleasure, and she refused. And she ran away, and supposedly they shot her in the back. I believe she was only 15 when this all happened.
We didn't know, why are we in a concentration camp? What is going to happen to us? My father cannot come to rescue us. My mother cannot rescue us. My brother cannot rescue us. No one could rescue us because there's Japanese all around. And what's going to happen next? But we never had that kind of experience to be cooped up in a place and called concentration camp. We don't know and then not only that is we're mingled with other people, but that we don't even know, and why are they there with us?
When we came to Manenggon, there were people already there from various districts, like from Akan or San Rlene, and we came, Magana, and they were there. But as I said, The plan was to get all the Chamorro to one area.
Los días ini nasa ngomongin na zipper taka concentrate kung lugar. Kasi kita ng mababang pamali lugar na kita mangyayari gini.
There must be something to it. At that time, I don't really know. My mother, my dad, and other people, when they're resting, they start this conversation in Chamorro. Ratafan mapuno, benti naman makunit, pata manapandan na ito, dunit Chamorro yung lugar. Hafan naman matawid, patapanono para Manenggon. Sinanaw masangan na ginatempuan yung matay na. Ay, suus, an man matay, sa tawdet paran sinida, todo fa magunta, patafan mapuno, patafanita. Pag matugin Manenggon, but what can we do? We were just praying. Everybody was saying the rosary.
The rumor was very strong at the time because they heard that the Japanese are going to kill all the Chamorros. That's why they're putting him in concentration camps.
Muna panin nun di sa popan mapuno lohuhungo ka afalin niya. So mahano di ani manggaygi si Babin Sigensa, si Martinez, si Odozo. Di man naoga na di manisya dani man maogas na sa panis. Pues guau kalambakan por faunay bisa. Guau sumanganganin ni pungalo na pamalaan ni. Na paumalod di baligis da para ufanoo magi sa panis. Sa tigan niya di pasti. At bidad daw usanganganin di manggatong na kanalawagan na maipit para man maritiray sa panis na di singoto na di tetso maalok na maipit.
When we reached the camp, I saw machine guns in the center of the camp posted, each pointing at different directions. These guns could have easily wiped out the 15,000 Chamorros. I was in constant fear. I was afraid to move away from the protection of my family.
Everybody had to fend for himself. You had to build something too, and I don't know how we did it, but you had to. Everything was again starting from scratch.
When we got to the camp, there was nothing there, nothing. We just walked. Brought us clothes, no food. We cannot carry anything.
Everybody was told to just go to wherever they were standing and try to, pitch camp, cut coconut leaves, or do whatever they needed to do to put up some kind of shelter for themselves.
Manenggon was like, as you would see, like a concentration camp in the movies, but there's a lot of grass in between, rocks, a lot of rocks, like the live coral, like maybe they're lactic stones for all we know, because I think they're still there. I remember because we used to do our doings behind a rock, and then the camp was very close to another family, so too close because it was so many people that every inch or every foot has to be occupied. So that's how it is.
We choose a place that the sun won't hit too much. So we know everything about the jungle. We take the coconut leaf and weave it and put it up, and we put something in the floor, nothing but the fadang tree, the coconut leaves, a lot of things that we have to do ourselves.
Everybody had to build a hut of some sort, so just a shelter, and it was just, I guess, like A-shaped shelter, and everybody, is actually just your floor is dirt, the ground, and it was not very shiny there, and it was muddy and all that,
A bunch of nothing, or bunches of like this. But the people that went over there cutting and building a little range for the people. We're just lying down on the ground, we open our clothes and lie down like this. But oh my God, I couldn't even say all the words that have been there. Because the time in the morning, my husband and some other tun ng tanawan, calling all the people from Agat. All of you Agat people, come out and we cut coconut leaf and bamboo so we can make a little ranch for the family to live. So they did it.
Come here, so naman nakanyonta. Todo doon ikaw to yung manhotsa sila. Sita gil sa mausa ni agonizo pues mananok kuku todo sa gata lu gyok banda. Pues man danya todo ku familia lo manafan. Taza ami gwini pues pa okto familia pues siya takuna.
My head was elevated and I thought it was a pillow that, the clothes that I brought along, it was stuck in the pillow and it was a dead boy. I think he died of starvation. He was all bloated up.
There's a river that was going down to Manenggon. It was from the clay, the dirt, and it was musty, and everybody was taking a bath there. Everybody was drinking water there. Name it, they were doing it there. We took my grandfather and we washed his eye out without sterilization.
So a lot of people were up there, all around the river, but their waste would go all the way down and we were in the middle. So you have to drink what water's coming down, and we're just lucky that we were not, there's not that much disease at that time, I guess. And God was watching all of us.
That's the water we were drinking. There was no drinking water. But people were taking it from the river. People were swimming. There was good water from there. There was no other place to go but there, that water.
And the thing is, it's unsanitary because here we are. There's people up above us, and there's Sumay, there's Sumay people, there's people from Ghana, there's people from Pidi. They're all over, and here we are in the bottom. And we're drinking the same water, and here they are, they're taking a shower, they do whatever up there, here. The good thing is that none of us get sick, because it's dirty, that water was dirty.
Where do you tuck it? You just dig a hole, move back, and there are hundreds of people all over the banks. Where do you drink water? Tell me. The taki was sitting in there, our drinking water was that. I'll tell you, when I was dirty, you know what I did? I'd jump in that river, rub myself all over, get up on the bank, dripped and dried, and I drank that water. The condition was deplorable. It's not fit for any human being.
I was never in Manenggon. I was a renegade. So I just didn't go. I stayed behind. I just went into the jungle. And, fortunately they didn't count maybe or something else. But I went there. I brought my family food and water.
Wahaun pagdun sa panis Sabadigo da malingo gi na tao to. Ista nyaw lang di linya biksha hafa da li nukalalamtin akon. Sumutsuko li as pipia talu hafa siya di kun todo di akaliha ha damak da akon. Sa istumaguna niya nisisita. At malago mo, hanggang bahan mo siya, puludit na hono ka doon. Gimin sa doon nisisita.
Ay, namanakas ko. Sa fasi. Sa komun. Masisini ka na, masya maunuan, masini ko sa kininila ko, ampat ko noon. Masini ko ha, ang gagas sa ato siya taki. Mansin sa papatu sa. Waha man dinediga, bentizi. Man manuli neno extra dunia dogan niya bulan suekos lain sinapit
isindalo ko mo niya na napandaan man hindi ko kita mo nung dan natin banda tao to masinikat sa sala ikakak bermumuka doon desta hudung ikat hada profil lagi mo pula takya di kanton Suranga de, nak malango. Di jauh, karena tanah mumuta.
We consume all of the taking that we had with us, and our belly was empty for many days, or a few days anyway after that. and we were eating coconut, green coconuts. You know the pigua, the elephant leaf thing? We were boiling that and eating that. And so we were getting real hungry at that point in our lives.
Mansikan kiki sampai panis biapa pernah mami tahu ni. Jisi bila mini producer matu lima pipika mana lalu pepa maguna. Tahu kan. Usi mana tak ada timate mi kaman mate, ni kini tak teman mate.
Dahil isugo ko Manila may pero so nung istala mitak ilay may di pa masa mati sa pagsahala ilay may jumap. Ti man stong talani bi. Manyahalang itapon.
Our job, because I was young, was to scrounge for food so people will eat. But during the day, when planes are flying and everything, everybody's in love.
Kuawa dan si tatang, pes, ane man maordinaw na pamintanaw na Manenggon, istabam gilang supes, pineni na binan momen si tatang impino ibaboy. Pes gua siya in sini gila tampitoli kan ni siya. Pes gua siya man matu bisita ni prahulu lokwe man maninaya sa tao ni pakan niya ni. Anesta lamam ni mababa gila tampitoli. Mohar sa ikan ni sa man matasohor sa ikan ni, you know, mohar sa ikan ni. Unlilya ilo ikan ni. Pes mapodo pagwa tu gi ilo iguafi, ilo pinigan pes sige mamodungi man mote pet matunu itu pet sige makakano ni tautan dan guana biaina ilemai ti totu atabia kalan odginuna nung kakano matsusulia tu tama patitinat por para famboka just to survive to the day, you know.
We were not in Manenggon very long. As far as I can estimate, not more than 30 days, I think. That thing scares me while we were in Manenggon. Because what happened, they concentrate large numbers of people in a small area and they harvest every available edible thing, whether it be up the tree. I was looking up at this called tuk and there was practically nothing there. Every tree, every coconut, nothing escaped anything in that.
Well, doctor very you will doctor very that's can be and getting Manenggon. Jadi nengkano ni tu dia nak start kan ni nana, no, tak milia ni, na media ni.
Manolang itaw to, manolang. Gua hizi mandana zaman manisnig at tatalo ko yung ipofan malago pa ilanso, lo tiseso masogya do sa kumaman magasa man mapunuan eh.
Then one day, is that my mother said to my father, Art, you go to a ranch in Fena and get some food. How good. So I saddled up my cow, everything I rode by myself, because I know the road, everything. So I know God works in a mysterious way, because during that night when I was going back, I heard shooting. It could be the massacre. I was right next to it. But as I said, God works mysterious way, because they didn't even see me or heard me, because I was alone. I don't make noises. And I came home with food, a lot of food, not being hurt.
They camp us up there, and I feel sorry with my father, because they make them go out and cut coconut leaf for shelter, for shelter. So my father was putting on his pocket, the coconut. If they don't see them, they get the coconut and what you call that, faha, yeah. So he would put it in his pocket, so when we get over there, so he give it to us. And the sad thing about up there is when you're there, sometimes you're cooking rice, when the plane is coming, you have to turn it off. Just put it out. And we're using sometimes those mud water, because we don't have any, we cannot even, there's a river there, but you cannot go, stay where you are.
Maagang itaw to po fan meeting sa
pamungai Amerikano na o fanli sa sempre man makapsan gino panda. Pues sanay lumaudza munaudzan mumiting itaitso gi kam lumaudza gi rizan ikam za sode cilu na mama titinas sod dan tandukin ji para ma stam mamisa ni masanya za hana bolu gi la udza za sosut ni atot ni wafi za sot ni pisane mati sapanis za mamaisin haji tumagu gi po fanot ni wafi sinangani na itihan mami pues maagang itian mami po ma-question lo tialanga gi amku sa sa pumodong sa lalango di sinas tamat brota pues makoni si tansilu jagwiza ma-question jagwiza todo rumisibi i castigo ni molek akustigon ga za mana stira ni kanaina zakada kanai ros na nijuk ila uzagi luna mapolu za mana odo i umpatasna mapolu mo na taigwini za makana talu dos na nijo pues sige maatsa ni ledo na ramas aji i tanantangan about maybe 5 feet long za edzigi ma aatsa ya go itsilu no tatalo na dan ipakin aji yung guguot mabira za edu talu paungnan ya jitsilu kada lenga ai nona ma pat moda cilu patot no mata fasunya pues ma atsa talu gisan tatenna ni paki jani ramas talantongan jani ji ramas nijuk pues todo ani munajan makastiga cilu mandini gridu todo kalan haga todo kita tahu na za pinilok na po masempuno cilu sa tiumujung jo magahit babe atan sa puti jo lo matuk jo jati mat broto sa timahungok timatungo mana gaigyo kun todo si tatahu ma anna lokwi and they did the same thing to my father man mafagagahan magat di masalo man lahan jastaki moto talu americano
21 semana antes de liberation ninaju ni dysentery it's not diarrhea kinilaka le dysentery haga muhujung naman skin and bones na pues ni na maasi menti biaho ni David juga hanu masya para mana uju mana sa anglo patsoto ni atago gua matago talo no po fanlupok hanum jana lokro gi biaho puengi tatlo puengisti motus tuan munya za sa pitine Dalinga todo samzo ni man manyongge no gipangi sa pena mai piafa no man malia amzo todo da matunga haji sa angin hom ne lugar ma lagi pilan don tunga mana gaigi hamzo ni man tumok ni wafi gi tatlo pengi man nagang hamzo ni taitso giulo gi punisado ni beso ibiaho pohano pislenges na now mga ma sa enam komo gigona mapat moda home bay pinino ha benti pal magalutyo lenga poluza kwao sa hobenzo dona sinya ani motugi batugi za man lain siya benti ahonde man motu pes wizo fanan kana za tatati za lenga Indi hamzo je man manyonggi ne no wafi gi pangi safani segu sa man opine na gua malango za manisita po mana fangimin hanu maipi le nyam tu na ti debi man makikilo on sia le nga hazim finena malago ma anya hason sa no kana ino sa pamungagu muli se pumalu ne the perfume anazan I the zona gagi me got name number 1 lo afana the ane ihona ne lenga ezipo attention ifno spanish ko afaza pina nitihon matana mulala sa ungis na manligwi stressas todo pes lenga tinauno kahulo talo pes yotu banda talo Maliwi mas estrellas kan akatika hulung yun inga suete de na tia patiko sabenti do na sen mate ang gusto na. Pues kaulungi pues lenga. Hano waktu gue dong poli kanai mo gigi wata sunya bambu ni. Za tumegini za magaluti benti gua benti biayo na lunay on lenga maliu se skada magaluti dagan wata zo. Ay na do sigong gi meslay na ay Diyos. Pues ani podungi tal papa matao kan kahulo. Do sige. Pues uno podono los inaugos kunsun tiputinya masa hahaso ni napiniti ne di Guam pala pag manyago zaman niya. Mate ya fanaan. Mas now Itago spiritual fiwa dia sangat kuat Yesus tulisan biasanya mama mau ngatur na uli na siya sasada mau tu ngatur biasanya masuk na guafa jalan ngaji shelter ni Duti ko papa dumes ay ano baba ni ubaba sa kinasuni sa onan ko Bruce to do sa pues Guamanians nyuli lanya ni jam binakli pues matawag so para benaji pues ko mo amti sa onan na ji binakli jan lanyan nizok
That we there was once a morning that was shot by the Japanese. He couldn't stand it. That I don't know what. He tried to run away. He got shot by the people.
The one time that I witnessed a man got his head chopped off with their bayonet. They line up the chamorros on both sides of this where this man is going to be executed, and when they march him out, tie his hand behind his back, they put his chin down on top of that stump that they had prepared for the execution. They're forever looking at us that were standing there to witness the execution. And should you turn your head or cover your face, we heard that you'll be next. Of course, we drill our eyes on this poor person, but there are several kids that were crying in line on their mother's arms, and the Japanese soldiers will run to them and grab the child and toss them up in the air and catch them with their bayonets. And should that child didn't die on that first bayonet, another bayonet will come beside on the side of the child to kill it. Three of those kids were executed like that. And of course we saw the man's head roll down the hill. It was terrible.
The family noticed that the Japanese machine gun positions around the concentration camp, when they first got to the camp, she said the machine guns were pointed out to ward off any, liberators or whoever might come. And she noticed on that particular day, that instead of the machine guns pointing out, they were facing in toward the people who were in the camp. And as soon as that was noticed, there was just this buzz in the camp and everyone was just on edge. They weren't sure when they were going to be, cut down by gunfire, and they were expecting it at any time. Just going through all those hours and days of worry and strain, and they just not knowing if it was going to happen, when it was going to happen. And then they all of a sudden one morning they could hear the bombing and they knew that the U.S. forces were on the way to liberate them. And, you know, she would tell me that story, and she would start to cry. And I don't know why I'm crying now, because I didn't go through it. But she would tell me that. She'd get this real far away look in her eyes, like she could see her family and almost see that Manenggon Valley around her again. I can't imagine what that must have been like for her.
My mother said to us, let's get both of us together so we can die all together. I said, no way. I don't want to die. I want to be, if we're going to die, I'll be the remaining member of the family, so that, you know, life must go on.
The Japanese ordered everyone there to start digging the trench. In every little, you know, we were in this little segment here, this little corner, and the order came one day for us to start digging. Digging, I mean digging like a grave thing. I don't know how many feet wide, how many feet long, and how many feet deep, but we started digging all that. And every family was ordered to do that.
Well, it's deep enough for you to sit on your butt, but it's not enough room to, you know, to move around or what. You just kind of squeeze.
Everybody was ordered. When the Japanese say something, it's not, will you please? It's do this or else. So we did that.
They want you to dig it because that's going to be your home. You know, they don't do like the Marines that build the home for us and then move us in for free. But the Japanese, no, to each his own.
I think in retrospect, you know, I look back, I reflect on that, and I'm thinking maybe they were going to kill all of us, dump us into that, you know? That's why else would they order us to do that?
The next plan is when the Micronesia comes in, they're going to take a grenade and just put it in that hole so everybody will die.
Danny Matsunaga, he warned us, he said, be careful, because maybe you're going to be told to dig a hole, and then they're going to tell you to get inside the hole. Then they're going to throw a hand grenade. Then you guys are all going to get killed.
When they threw the first grenade, we just hugged each other and closed our eyes and prayed. My mom was crying, hugging I have her arm, one arm in my sister's neck, and I have one arm on my neck. And she was crying, she was praying. At that time, you don't even know, I don't even know how to pray. I don't even know what to say. I was just shivering. I was just holding my mom and my sister one hand. I have my mom's around her neck and my sister, and all you do is hope for the best. So we just close our eyes and pray and call for God's help, God's help, God's blessing. And He really sent it down. As soon as it did explode, me and my sister pick it up and throw it out. They just throw in and go and throw it in to somebody else. Yeah, they want to finish us up. But a lot of people saw when they threw the grenades to us. And because after all this, when we get together, when they blow the whistle and we get together for a roll call, we always hug each other, you know, people, friends, and even people you don't know, you hug them because you don't know what's tomorrow. So we hug each other now. Julian, I decide. Manatang isama and liin na matakot sa mitsun pakso. Bata na na masinigtan sa minis na nang. Because need good itinansu.
They make the able-bodied Chamorro dig their own graves. It a size of 6 foot deep and 12 foot square. Once they got it all dug out, they marched the people down there pack them like a sardine, tight, and they'll shoot them. Shoot them until they're all, no movement, no life, they're dead. But if they see a person moving, they'll jump down on top of bodies with their long bayonet in front of the end of their rifle. They'll stab them. They'll stab them repeatedly until there's no more life. My uncle was one of those people down there. As soon as they start shooting, he dove down on the ground and stayed there until he feels bayonet coming through other bodies on top of him and poking him in his back, his thighs, everywhere. He had the scar still. Anyway, when nightfall came, he crawled up through the bodies, the dead bodies, and left the hole. He crawled through the jungle for about a week. He was pulling his one leg because he got shot in the knee, and he caught gangrene. Well, he was able to reach help, and he survived. But if you'd have seen the holes on his body, on his back, but they didn't flinch, they didn't move because fear that they'll see him still alive. So he stayed down. Anyway, he came to and he was okay.
Kira desi man masukia gigi aluti man dispas papa Manenggon wan kemaksud ginin halum Fena ne gizalala perlumahui tahu ini lu isti atagama ini lu ane makto papa Manenggon.
Si idos tauto ginin Fena si Ilias agiki dan si Wan kamatsu kilelo. Man matauko ngalum lupi gini ni kita Fena man mapono alum iboku zaman matauko ngalum yang kenet man isi pakai makuno to ane masyenti sa panis na dulu ha tuksa I tauto siya ko man juga la pada terus kia tutua idosa sangangan isti kia tutua idosa sta kita bi sa panis azun na kumuna na fusun idoslo si mudan to stay tanto pues ane man ujung zaman waktu titungu tay manu idos tauto but salonnya ni siya no waktu papa Manenggon.
One day there were 2 interpreters and 2 Japanese came by to issue crackers because we were starving, the kids were starving. And so they call all the children, anybody that is in the camp, to come to the big hut and get crackers.
I wouldn't go. Not one of my family would go down there. No. And I'll tell you why. The very first few days, or one other time, I think somebody was binta, they were slapped or something, and I just wouldn't go. What do I have to gain here? What do I lose? Just kill me. I guess that was the attitude. So, what go down there because they'll give you food. Down there for food? No way. No way. I'll just go ahead and eat my berries and starve to death.
Lo and behold, when the children were assembled, there was a man by the name of Vicente Kitano, who was screaming across the river, if there are Japanese around, kill them or let them know that the Americans are right behind me. And so the interpreters said this to the Japanese and they ran away. We were not given the crackers. When the Americans came to the hut where the children were assembled to get crackers, they found live hand grenades to be thrown among the children because the Japanese promised that by the time the Americans come, they will find ashes instead of live people. And so instead of the Americans distribute the crackers to us, they denotate the 2 live hand grenades that were supposed to be intended to be exploded among us. Then only did we get our crackers after we didn't even know what the hand grenades looked like or what would it do to us? And so we found out later, as we grew older, what had happened. And so the following day, the two Japanese that had intended to annihilate the children were shot right as they were crossing the river. And the interpreters, I have no recollection of who they were.
2 or 3 days before the Americans came to Manenggon, a whole line of Japanese soldiers, I don't know how many, wounded ones as well as others, marched across the camp and left. I don't know where they were going. So they left the camp also. 2 or 3 days before the soldiers, before the American GIs came to that spot, the Japanese left.
Over in Manenggon, they called us all out to come out and march to Fena. I escaped them. I told one of the man in front of me and the one behind me, let's not go because we're going to get killed. They're scared to escape. So the river, we were walking by this river, and as soon as the guard moved forward, I just slide right down. They all went back to the camp, and it's only about 200 yards away from the camp in the Manenggon. But this group are going to Fena. And all those people were killed. They need this working party to carry ammunition and everything. And, you know, so when they are useless already, they were inside the cave and they just machine gun all of them. And then they stab each one of them make sure that everybody's dead.
Man maot din na no ilalahin o kana no man maagang hunsungi awin pero fanano pada ziku po fan mga gabang tintinga pangangan za pada kan mga gabang pada jiku za maumma kasi atuni strang silo ni po hano kalang bahay so no hin ne sa hagaw ba imas jana ne so niya kana ji so niya medyo ang paus itu kalang ati medyo itu kalang result itu nice of kalang bus really za usha ne za ne ma
just before the invasion they went around looking for strong men, and it happens that I have several brothers and they go down the list, and my brother one was picked to go to Jigo supposedly and to carry ammunition.
There were 4 of them. Atanacio Sitesa, Francisco Duenas, and Herman Scharf. Herman Scharf and Francisco Duenas escaped. So, my brother one never came back from where they went.
The girls, the ladies who were preparing the food for us, mentioned to me that the group that went before you had not come back yet, and that was a week ago.
We never heard from him after that. My mother was so depressed, devastated. She couldn't sleep. She had nightmares, and so I did. And so I had nightmares after the war for a couple of years. My mother never forgave the person that saved my brother.
They told us that they're gonna feed us rice, cooked rice, and I don't know. I got a boss, from that group. We just make him the boss, the oldest person. He took Tunisos Guzman. They already told us that they're inviting us to eat. Si Tunisos, he's telling us we're 10 people. He said, whoever wanna follow me, get ready. So, my mother, before I left, my mother told me that to obey Tunisos, whatever he told me, to do what he said. So 3 guys, my 2 best friends, they're the one that want to stay to eat. I told my friends, no, I'm gonna have to go to with Mr. Guzman. So those are the 3 guys that they died. I heard they cut their neck or something. They say they're gonna feed us. They treat them. Whoever stay and for dinner that night, they all died. We're the one that run away. We got away.
The Japanese at that time were going to Santa Rosa. That was supposed to be their last stand. And so they needed to move all their supplies and materials up to that area. And what they were doing was that they would order young men, strong young men, to help them move supplies and materials up to Santa Rosa. And what they decided to do is that after these materials were delivered, they would just kill the young men who brought the stuff to Jigo. And I believe there were over about 50 young men who were massacred up in Jigo during that time.
Si Tatao dan si Tiu inosyo ni manami ti manaliam sa man kukunin sa panis kada dia manaygoy. Lusuti mo guaw makuni. Magasao makuniyo. Guan ay 3-4 dias ti motu tati kam sa siya naman manuma bola dan kadgan sa panis todo Manenggon papa halum sa bana. I ultimo trip hamian si Tiu nasu masuda 14 o 15 na tao to. 3 na sa panis, komunian halum gisabana. Puengi zaman afan manuman kay tambalan jadi dikit kada uno. Zaman afan matsan hulu utungo pamano dari na Jigo. Utungo ki ora man matan Jigo, impeli bala ulung ki Cave. Man matawagwan pa ben panudong ben panosung ki kasada. Lamita gi para hulu gi lumu gi lansawan lamita pa papa patasnu gi kasada. Adai malago, saya malago pa mapunua. Pes tiutungo talo kwanto na tiempo di edzon man matawag ben panosun esta ki Guam matu sindalon sa panis gisaipan ling niya. Gi sa mo gisaipan na sindalon sa panis. Pangahulo din fan malago sa fan mapuno.
On both sides of the road, fires that they were burning bodies. Yeah, we saw a truckload empty out bodies. Then they were thrown into the fire. We were told not to look, keep going, don't look. So when we went to Jigo, after I was kind of just as the bombardment is not exactly going in straight pattern, but like this. So we made it without any incident until we got to the place where we're supposed to unload our stuff, and we unloaded our stuff, and then we went to they herded us into a bomb shelter. The Japanese called it bokungo. And when we went in, then we all were herded in there. We started recounting what we heard about, stories about other people being killed. You know, these things didn't hit us until we started talking about it. And then we realized, my goodness, this doesn't look very good. There's these 2 soldiers up front in the entrance, and one had a machine gun and the other had a rifle and bayonet. Well, those guys we don't recall seeing those guys but during the trek, but that didn't matter at all, one way or the other. And then the bombardment started to become consistent, you know. It just kept going on and on. And then it hit near our, where we were. And then we looked out there, those two Japanese were gone. So we didn't consult or anything, we just started moving in the direction of the opening, and pretty soon we said, let's get out. And we all ran out in the middle of the night. Fortunately, a few of those people, guys know the trail. And so we got onto the trail and started back home, back to Manenggon. One of the things that was quite a surprise, you know, is that we never thought, we didn't think that the American troops had moved up this far. And we were all wondering when we got back to the camp whether they didn't kill us up here, but they probably got rid of our families back at the camp. And we were all thinking about that as we were coming down and talking about it. And in fact, what if there's nobody there anymore? It's just, we don't want to think about that right now. I'd rather not think about it. And so we all decided to just walk carefully, you know, because we don't know whether Japanese stragglers are around.
Pues sanay manahonan papa aji salapago bridge. In liuvdung no dos Maracano nay. Dokka is momina German, tambi manisha Japanese ni German. Pues manopupan nay papa. Pues manina dipin magagun momi nay. Pues anay mangwentus. Come out with your hands in your head. Pues manuzungan tayo gini. Anay manuzungan sa manilemli. Sa todan tumungo funengli. Man takas sa hanap niya gi kantina pues in Chile kantina dan sa Guamanians no gi kalan waterfall na. Pues in Chile kantina dan ajuda na. Anay man mato da sige like that. These people know how to speak English.
One evening, we were all sleeping. We could hear the Guamanians not far from us. We could hear them talk because the silence of the night sea. So then we prayed, oh God, when will the American comes to save us? But it was, I think it was mid-morning, we heard. And my family heard. I was at the back, the very inside of the hut, and the whole time we were just praying and do my praying, you know. So we were praying, and I was with my sister Jocelyn and I at the door over there. And then there were some of them were outside of the little hut, you know, in a pool. And then they before you knew it, group of Japanese surrounded this soldier hut. There's maybe semicircle just like this, all around the hut. And then they started speaking Japanese. They had the machine gun, the guns, and all kinds of things in there. They surrounded. I was half asleep. Everybody was crying. Everybody must come out. Everybody must come out. Call everybody out to the camp, outside. Anybody that's inside the little hut must all come out. Then I was stunned. What's going on? I could hear Japanese. Then they started calling me, Margarita, you know, hello, Japanese, Japanese. They were calling me, you know, and I was at the very end, and I was trying to crawl out, and they were, some of them were almost fainting away with fright, just to see. So by the time they all got out, I was practically the last one out. And there were the Japanese all around. And we here, and we were all here. I looked, my heart just sank. And he said, no! In Japanese, no! Like this. Of course, I understood everything was going on. And I was breathing out. I looked around. I surveyed every single one of them. And among the middle one, saw a familiar face. Then then I spoke Japanese. I said, aren't you with the Takashino, the general? He looked at me, recognized me. He must have recognized the family, but he's on duty. He looked at me. Then I called out. I said, I remembered you. You were one of them that was well instructed by Takashi, the General Takashi, to protect us. Now we are now at the mercy if the Americans come to help us. Now, what are you going to do with us? Then I said, the General have instructed you. You see, all your men, they knew the instruction of the General. They knew, so he looked at me and he kind of shook, kind of amazed, you know, that I will fight back. He looked at me. Then he smiled, left to right, so down, put down your gun, put down your shotgun, put down all the weapons they have, down on the ground. And then he said, he stood up and he said, again, that's when I spoke. Where is the general? Where's Takashi Takashino? I was crying. Then he said, I said, wait, see. Is he dead? Then he shook his head. Yes. Yes. He died. I said, where did he die? He said, I cannot tell you now. But you will find. I'm sure that he told you where he was going before he left, before the Americans left. I'm sure he told you. I said, yeah, he told me he was going to go to England. But is he dead? He knew already because he knew that the other general was also shot. Dead! I cried. And then of course I had to control myself. Then he looked up and I bowed. I thanked them. I thanked all of them in spoke Japanese. And I said, may the God of heaven bless you. Thank you for sparing the life of my family. The officer got up and he told all his men move to the front. Who were ahead of me. He was the last one. He looked back at me. He smiled, and then you could see like tears ready to fall because the implication of that is it would be the last of them, maybe not us, but of them. I smiled and I waved.
So my boss, he saw me and said, Johnny, in Samoan, come here, my lad. How come I've been looking for you? I said, I don't know. It's people, they said, do I have to go and follow the crowd? And I said, no, you stay with me. So that bike helped me. He took me and stayed with him and always say that you are a good boy, help your mother and all that. And then just before he left, he said to me that, sit down. Then he said, take this money, one camp, Japanese money, and when the American come, change this. I said, I can help you, save you. No, he helped me and start crying. I cried with him. I said, I can help you, save you. No, I'm a Japanese, I have to die.
And then when the big man of the Japanese overheard that the Americans are moving in, he took us. We were scared because I thought, it's got something to do with killing us or whatever, but it's not. He just saved us to take us away from that kitchen because he doesn't know what the title, is going to do with the...
Pues anepo ka na alim may kami. Kani kana tulan o sininga di boom 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 boom. Man magagawa to din ni Jessi Jon man mau sa pani. Man mau sa papanggera ni Amerikano gida digo man mau sa amin alaman.
I think they panicked, Nista. They were panicking because the cannons from the ship was shooting in, and those are large cannons from those destroyers out there.
Man malalag ko papa kitsalan isindal sa panida ni takinya. Pues manatati kita tinya aji Korean sesti logi na tempo itauto binenais nasunia itauto na pura sa panisa lo nu actually Korean sa ginamang ginabit na South Korea centay size onions naman makoni mga kita adto boss mama ni gi ST pa na tama to kuham lo taza no galutia dunia di prefecto sindalo paki dan sapli doan kunya nezi bayunet azuman mausa
di pofan mati Amerikano matun tau to dalengya sa mizo sa sangan na uli Amerikano sa mano pa sa bana sa estaba zugi pa be famfi lemay sa ane uli batu tropan sindalo no huwag sa kanay ho dyan ni panyuho dyan kuno native of Guam ito lang nga tao lumanagigin ay Marines na iwato ni pumapakit ang siguro pues no pinaisin ni Sindalo mano na naman gagit sa moro kasi niya sa ngani tumuno natuno pa pa i-review na hong tano sa hatsa yan tena sa ngani ihuloy kaya kunay na mga mabomba dyan na lukan pes asangani tao di Amerikano sa moro na pofan makto agupa da pagan kanma koni.
In the evening, we will hear this cannon from the ship. Boom, boom, and we can hear all these flares, lights coming out. It's a wonderful sight to look at it. But they were shooting from the canyon of the ship. And almost every night, we were at the bank of a river, going like that, and we're looking out like that. There was an excitement in the camp, you know, people running around, a big commotion. I said, what happened? I said, some of them, the Americans are here, you know, the military, they're right there. And the Japanese were running around too. You know, they were shooting at each other, and we all ducked down because we were afraid.
First, the American dropped letters, no? The people were running in the bushes trying to pick up. I don't know what it says there. Maybe it's that they're going to land, no? Because I remember that pretty soon the Marine came, and they were all as red as a fried shrimp, really. Oh, I remember those men and women. They all men were hugging the men. They know the Marine and women were also big. So,
U.S. forces were already on island, and somebody from the camp came and told them where we were, in concentration camp. So I think it was a Marine who came and found us, and at that point he told the command, you know, that the family there, I mean all the people were there in concentration, and were to be liberated.
Durman neselo. Kaya Amerikano gibago. Kaya Amerikano. So, Merizo, pues, cuestión mo, tim Marino, yo nazi, pero mano so lago. Ane sige wala ko mamakan. Pues, venga Amerikano, alsap, sumaga. Sir, ama Guamanian. Pues, asa no, pues lang ko. Yona, may subopero. I'm an ex-Navy man, but I'm going to go, sir. Sir, thank you, sir. Then I go back and tell the people, fix yourself up because in about 1 or less than 2 hours, we all go from this camp to one another, straight up to Aga.
We all shot. The Americans are there just to let the Japanese hear us. They just took off, they ran. They're afraid. They're also afraid to die.
What happened was that when those Marines came, a handful of them, everybody started following him, you know? And the guys said, no, but no, they went. And so he was going back to his encampment, which was Antengo at the time. And everybody went there too. And thank goodness, because that would at least saved us from, a real tragedy. But
I think a couple of the soldiers escorted us. They didn't come up to bring us back. Huh? They were just, scouting around. And we asked the soldiers to escort us back to the American line. It was dangerous because they were Japanese,
The water container ni kalang no duffel bag ne le na US Army ejigi ogosasu pues man nono te semol papa de mata magai pesta duro man mago todit semol the pes got semol ne ejigi kalang no afitin anna kalang pessimistic ne salina ejifan gaige I Japanese ki rija the jifan mapaki ne siguro na pokot ni edesti ne no urung siya masang ne bunga ji po fanono ken me kante po sotte ni sa mamupuni ten kit Japanese ne.
During the Japanese time like we don't have anything to look forward because we don't know, and I'm glad that when the Americans came in and we were so happy when we saw them coming down that hill in Manenggon, they are coming from different directions. They're coming down and then they're telling us to. When it passed by, I think I can see about 3 Japanese lying down there dead, there. But we just keep on walking and we were being protected by the Americans because the Americans are on our side.
We were hopping through dead Japanese because the path was so small, narrow, just in a walking space. And then the military was on the right side protecting us, The line was so long. It was too long that when you turn your head around, you see the line is still coming out from Manenggon.
I was there the next time ako kasi wala nga matubay Ricono ito pekkato so tingnan man tumutko gininidzo and there's 4 soldiers that were getting all the old people, the Japanese national name. Pues tingnan Lieutenant, I want you guys to protect these people that they won't get hurt and follow me over there behind the hill. Pues tingnan niya, what's the Lieutenant? Pass over. Now the people are jumping over. Do man madomo to say man being Japanese. Naman mawuto dispatching. Dinetaw gato to Enrique Messias. Oh, look like we respect him, nice. Look like some of the older people and what. But this old man, Messias. Okay. Aha, man. Ngano makanya Amerikano ko gato linga. Went over the Bogoti highway to the Latte Matati Tanto, mommy. How don't castigate. And that guy is a Navy man. But he was member of the Guam, the they did over somewhere. Take advantage, right? See, all those people take advantage. Because the old man was crying like that. If we don't stop that guy, he's gonna kill the guy because the guy is down on the ground.
Jadi bulat sepanis gue tu biagwa ha, mapupulo sepanis ni mana kakak batuk pun actually bentina niya nai tahu. Pues gue na tiempo nai hinanawi sepanis lo ke nai lo bulat sepanis kalau tahu ti peronahan na mai sesa mapuno sampai. Jadi gua hagwat dia nai di halum mami gua dia kisan lagu san haza. Puno fan makti sepanis berutam ne gua hak mapapakit sepanis ampuengin esta maloka kan batu pues dam dulu papak pelena no ti nunga malak batu kan sa sepanis no ya mapapakit pues esta ne makti mereka no Ay naman minago ko na linya panahon ng paisan sa panahon. Zaga naman naalo ang tatigi ilang sumamo talo.
Once in a while, we have these, we heard this sporadic sound like boom, 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 boom. The Americans were shooting at the stragglers. Japanese when they went like that. And we're so curious about that. After that, we went down and look what happened. And the first time I see a human being cut into so many pieces, smells so fishy.
One time when we were hearing all these shooting outside the camp, after they died down, we were my brothers. I think both brothers and I were curious just to see what happened. And so we actually went out because it was safe to do that already. And there were about half a dozen Japanese soldiers that were just killed. I mean, freshly killed. You can see the wounds that were very visible. And so we just quickly saw it and went back because it was sickening.
It was quiet, very quiet. For Guamanians to be quiet, right? All my mother did was just hug this American guy, start kissing him. I said, no. So embarrassing. But she was so happy.
This guy went to past my drop off one of my kind of pork and beans. What you got there? Pork and beans. Where did you get that? I go, I keep eating it all through the year. Yeah, it's my favorite. And so what are you going to do? I go, why not open it? And they open it. Maybe 20 soldiers, one scoop. I remember the later on when we marched down to Again. Again, it's a lot of people.
By the time we came out of the end of that river, we were already in Elec, So then the army truck, the big truck, that's where we rode. And then they brought us. Some of them went to the, where the cemetery in Nagana. Some of them went over there, and some of us came to Agate.
Makan meninggal, itu nih malu ni nak terus ni malu nak ni mana, konya bapa no hagatal, mata itu masuk malnutrition, the mata ini covered by mata nak.
I found a case of sea ration, military food sea ration, and I ripped the case open and started eating until I was ready to throw it out. That was how hungry we were.
People around us, they stuffed themselves with this care ration, and I guess their intestines were so thin already, and it just, they were having the diarrhea, and so they died. Children my age at that time, they were all dying after we came out from Manenggon.
I don't have any strength in my body. I was starving in mind, starving in my body, but I didn't want to eat because I didn't want to slow down.
Si mama dan si Josisi dulu dan si Lilita menano para ratu odot dengan kami dengan stabil dengan kami minum kami sahanya nak itu dengan kami yang setahu dan itu dulu siapa menjaga Manenggon terus kita lu nasa ngoni na patungan na guaha pagminang genya na mas stabil di mo na paki nasuna ang programa niya terus kada mati truck menurut kuno siya mangkaji ayo terus ni truck niya makton ni ay laliyang siya mama rin mga duro rin manongin niya sa di ay minagup niya sa makton. We made our way to Bradley, but when we went to Bradley, it was so crowded and so unsanitary. So they decided that the officials decided that maybe we should take us back to Yona. So they gathered us, the family, a lot of the families were gathered together, and they put us in the truck, and they drove us to Yona.
And as we were approaching the Yona church, we had to stop because there's still a battle going on. The Marines and the Japanese were still fighting it out in the church. So then, I guess they decided that we're gonna reroute you. So they rerouted us and sent us back to Manenggon. And when we came to Manenggon, it was changed. Manenggon became a refugee camp. They have tents all over the place. And at that time, the refugee at that time was a lot of people coming in from Taloferco, and I guess from Agat. They came to stay in the refugee camp. But so it was at this time that they were checking us. They had a dispensary, and I guess we were living under the camps. And it's around this time that an outbreak of, and they never mentioned this in any story that I heard, but there was an outbreak of pink eyes. And when that happened, everybody was quarantined. Nobody can leave Manenggon.
Manenggon sa Taloferco, Americano, Americano, Manenggon malasa Guma.
Fortunately, we didn't have to stay at the camp too long, because otherwise everybody would die of dysentery or whatever sickness. It was, I'm talking about it now because I've rehearsed it many, many times. But when I first started to vocalize it, I cried. And even now I'm thinking, maggots sleeping on the ground, cold, damp, wet ground, rain pouring over you at nights because you have nothing, and one pair of outfit on your body for days, and you jump in that river and you rub and scrub, and you got in the bank and you dried yourself, and then you drank that water. Rose said, did you do that? And my answer is yes. It's inhumane.
I can't forget the war. It's hard for me to forget the war because all the experience that I had through that 2 years and 7 months, it stays in my blood. It stays in my mind. And I hope to God that He will take me before I have to go through that again. I don't think I could go through it.
When everybody was being sent to so-called concentration camps, they have that in Manenggon, they have that in Merizo, and they have that in Iran too. We were all ordered to move out of everybody, people from the village. Just like people in Manenggon, they have one idea, that's what the idea that they started in Merizo extermination. And fortunately, it never reached that point where we were.
It should not be happen. No matter how it's not happen, should not be happen. And if you're fighting in the war, but that's we can see that that's innocent civilian should not be happen like this. I really feel that. Our group, we saw the newspaper and we decided to go. I remember that they give permission to go with them. I thought they have more little bit resistance for Japanese to go there, but I'm very happy and I feel that comfortable to bring our Japanese, our friend, to be in the site.
I had a chance to attend the memorial service. That day, former Consul General Iriyama was also attended, and our small association, which is called the Peace Wing of Guam's president, Mr. Takagi, was also there. And I was really shocked to see those relatives and family members of those who were killed at the site. And after those people went to the monument and prayed, then Mr. Iriyama, the Consul General, and Mr. Takagi's name were called. Then those two went in front and prayed. Then after that, they bowed their head to the family and relatives. Then everybody clapped hands. I was really, I don't know, that feeling I had, I really cried. I'm sorry because every time I remember. Especially those families and relatives, when I saw them, my goodness, every year for how many years they are doing, this ceremony, memorial service, then we Japanese didn't know. Because when I first came to Guam, I was really shocked to know about that. Then, as one of Japanese, I actually couldn't accept that. But thinking of this, then all my family, friends of my families and co-workers and my regular customers, they're all Chamorro, and they're so nice. When everybody clapped their hand, means showing their appreciation to Consul General and the president of our club. I felt really, I don't know how to describe, like something was, going away and released. Then I really felt, oh my goodness, how nice those Chamorro people, considering what happened to them, but still they are so kind and friendly. And my goodness, we Japanese came to Guam, and and we should all know about this, Then we should pray not only for those Japanese soldiers who died here. That's what I felt very strongly that time.
Chamorro people were dragged into a war which was not their war. They became objects. They became work slaves. Some of them survived quite well, but many did not survive, and many more were tortured, raped, and just totally brutalized. And so this place has so much significance for the Chamorro people because it was at this place where the Japanese army intended, because of what was happening when the Americans were approaching, to annihilate the Chamorro race. And this is a very significant place. Every Chamorro should have respect and honor for this place.
Late Speaker Tony Umpinko. He was one of the family of those killed by Japanese. And he said the fact what happened has to be told every generation in the future. But forgiveness is the only thing to make a world peace. Never forget, but we forgive. Never forget, but we forgive. Otherwise, peace will never come.
It was a shame that even I, as a student growing up, was not aware
of the Manenggon Memorial Site until much older, until I became a high school student, is where I started to understand what happened during World War II, and having a real realization that my parents, my mother and father, were a part of World War II, and they were victims of World War II, and were a part of the march, were a part of seeing some of the atrocities that happened during World War II, some of the beatings that happened, and yet there wasn't a place where students could go to, or residents could go to, or tourists could go to reflect, or to remember, or to pray for, or to even pay tribute to. So this organization in my heart was to give an educational awareness and bring that forward.
Not to have soon.